Welcome, my friends of the interwebs. Hey, listen, Mobile Tech said to me, asked me, actually, commented in an asking way. Am I making any freaking sense? Spider-Comanics, too. Gotta love it. Anyway, he asked me if I was done with politics, and that is an absolute negatory. Negative. No, I am not. At all. Lots of squeaky toys today. Sog Flash 2. Anyway, anyway, listen to me. I gotta get this video out because people have been driving me crazy. They've been filling up my my freaking inbox, wanting to know what the hell's going on with YouTube and why it's a freaking mess and why they're not making any money and why their views are down and why blah 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 blah. And for the most part, I ignored it all the way up until I got this one message. Excuse me. Let me clear my throat. All the way until I got this one message. No, I have not been drinking. Yeah. Benchmade. 707 sequel. Oh, it's a beautiful knife. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's the one. That's the one. Anyway, this guy sends me this message. He says, Colonel, you got to help me out, brother. What's going on? And, you know, nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's scared to say anything. I've been looking for videos explaining things, and Google's not talking about it. Nobody's talking about it, but, you know, I'm making a third of the money that I used to make, and, oh, my God, blah, blah, blah. I can't put my kids to college now, and blah, blah, blah. The wife needs a kidney, and, yeah. And then he said this is what got me. He goes, you are not a known giver of fucks, and I know that if anybody's going to come out and talk about this, it will be you. All right. You got me. You hit me in a soft spot. Because you're right. When it comes to Google, when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to a lot of things, I don't care. I will say whatever. I'm not going to hide behind anything. I'm not going to be one of those people that worry, scared to death. You say anything that Papa Google's going to come down and ground you or worse. Or worse. And listen, I don't pretend to know a bunch of stuff because I don't. Although I will tell you that most of it's pretty commonsensical, and if you're paying attention, I think even though Google never came out and said this was what's going on, I think it's pretty evident to all of us now, or pretty obvious to all of us now, that what they're doing is merging YouTube with Google+. And there's a lot of reasons that they're doing that, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Everything that's coming out of my mouth from this point on will be complete and absolute speculation, because I don't know. The truth is, I'm just as in the dark as you guys are. The only advantage that I have over you guys is that I've been around a long time. I've been here since the beginning of time, and yeah, I mean, you know, when you've been around that long, you kind of pick up little things. You notice little trends, and you kind of get an idea just from history. What, you know, and history does have a kind of a way of repeating itself. You get kind of an idea where we're going with all this. Anyway, so Google's not telling anybody anything because they don't want to, you know, for lots of reasons. And some of them probably legitimate, but for lots of reasons. But let me give you just a little bit of a history lesson as to what kind of prompted all this. Google, who, by the way, when you think about Google, and for those of you who have been living under a rock, Google is YouTube. They own YouTube. Google is one of those companies that have very, very, very grandiose ideas, and taking over not only the world, but the universe. I mean, you know, listen, we're talking about a company that literally took a photograph of every single person's house and never once asked permission to put it online. I mean, it was a stalker's dream. You had a map right to anybody's house you wanted to. You could see what their car looked like. I mean, you know, Google don't give a fuck. You think I am not a known giver of fucks? Google is the mother of all. Of all not giving a fuck people. I mean, if there's anybody that's not a giver of fucks, it's Google. So, anyway, they're not talking about any of this stuff, but ultimately what happened was they wanted to compete with Facebook. Okay, and it just goes to show, you know, that it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter, you know, what your position is as far as ownership of the highway. Because let's be honest, they own search. They are the number one by far search engine. And when you are able to direct traffic and basically herd people in directions that you would like them to go in, that's powerful. Except, it doesn't always work for you. Microsoft proved that over and over and over. But the truth of the matter is that Google thought that they were going to come in, spend a whole bunch of money on this Google Plus thing, which was really basically a copy of Facebook, and that they would basically have Facebook's lunch. That's exactly what they thought was going to happen. But the problem was this. Nobody came. They threw a big party and nobody showed. You know, they basically sent out invitations to the world and said, look, we got a feast going on. We got a banquet. We're setting out a banquet for it. And nobody came. Everybody stayed with Facebook. And, you know, it was one of those things. I think that for various reasons, and I don't even feel like speculating as to why people stayed with Facebook, but that's what they did. They stayed with Facebook. I mean, Facebook has some insane amount of users. I mean, it's insane. I use it every day. Most everybody uses it every day. Google Plus wasn't working. It wasn't getting where they wanted to go. So, and this is my speculation, as I said, I can only imagine that had any of us been a fly on the ceiling of the boardroom at Google as they were talking about Google Plus. At some point, somebody said, "Listen, this is what this is the solution. This is what we got to do." Nobody's coming and using Google Plus. Nobody's doing it. A couple of guys are doing some Hangouts and some stuff, but for the most part, nobody's using it. How are we going to actually do what we set out to do, which was to destroy Facebook? Well, the thing that we need to do is we literally need to force the people that we do have control over to that system. So what did they have? They had a bunch of users on YouTube. They had a bunch of YouTubers. YouTube was making them $1 billion a year. There were people who have vested interest in YouTube. There are people who pay their bills, mortgages, house payments. We all know people who literally this is their job. And some of them quite successful. So it isn't like they're going to get pissy and go, well, we're going to go to a competitor. There is no competitor. YouTube literally is the only game in town at this particular point. So what they decided to do was force us, literally all of us, onto their Google Plus. And so they started merging things and changing. You've seen, listen, there's been some crazy changes. I can only at this point hope and pray that it works out. But I know for a fact that everybody's money is in the shitter. You know, and I don't rely on Google AdSense to pay my bills. But there are people who do, and they're hurting. And they've talked to me, they've called me, they are hurting. A lot of these changes, at least in the short term, have been very harmful, you know. And I don't know, if there was a lot. I'm assuming. I'm assuming that these engineers at Google thought about these things, and it'd be nice if they beta test some of this stuff, but maybe this is just such a huge project that there was no way to beta test it. I don't know. Now what are we going to be left with? I have no clue. How long is it going to take? I don't know. I've heard people tell me, now I did talk to somebody recently who supposedly was well connected with Google, and he did kind of say to me, I believe it'll be completed by the first of the year. Well, I know that seems like forever away, but, truthfully, it's just a couple months. So, yeah, hopefully we can, a lot of the guys that are literally paying their bills, hopefully they can keep their heads above water long enough to make it work. So, I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but, it is what it is, guys. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it's their game. They can change the rules anytime they want. And they do, and that's what Google does. They do what they want to do. They have their plans, and they don't necessarily feel the need to include any of us into it. Although I will tell you this, I was talking to a fellow YouTuber yesterday, and he made an interesting comment to me, which I actually concurred with, and that was that the things that Google does to us is, in the end, going to bite them in the ass. And he said the reason why he felt that way was that any loyalty that any of us have to Google is literally being shredded. For example, if Facebook came out tomorrow and said, we're going to make, a video a major part of our Facebook experience or people's Facebook experiences, video sharing is going to become a big deal over here, and we're putting a ton of money into it, which I think they are, by the way. And then if they say these will be the magic words, and we're going to do revenue sharing for ads. Let me tell you something. The loyalty would be for Google would be non-existent. People would jump over there in a heartbeat. And here's the thing: if Facebook was to say to people, or let's say Amazon or any of them, was to say to people, look, we're going to do a revenue sharing with you. We're going to treat you right, but the deal is, you have to be exclusive to us. You can't also be posting videos over on YouTube. A lot of people would go. A lot of people would go. Mainly because they feel like they've been fucked. They feel like they've been shafted, herded in the dark, disrespected, not told what's going on. Not, listen, if you're paying your bills with your AdSense money, okay, and you've lost 2/3 of your income, and nobody's telling you why, what, where, when, how, any of that, that leaves a freaking scar on you. Believe me, it does. So, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. But anyway, listen, this is already over 11 minutes. I didn't intend on that to be the case. But bottom line, people, this is what's happening as far as I can tell, is that there's a merger between YouTube and Google+. And ultimately, in the end, it will be what it is, for better or for worse. My advice to any of you that are still hanging on and listening to my babblings, my advice to any of you is that get your house in order over at Google+. Get your get your Google+ presence squared away. And because I have a feeling it's going to be a big part of your experience on YouTube. And I don't know if in the end it works out or doesn't work out. And I guess none of us really know. But I've always said this too, by the way, and if any of you haven't watched my series on, how to make money on YouTube and all that stuff, you need to. You need to. But I've always said you have to diversify your income. You have to. If you have all your eggs in one basket, you're a fool. Now, I know for a lot of you, it's hard to diversify, because in order to diversify, you actually have to have some kind of major presence. You have to have, and I've always said, 10,000 subscribers, 1 million views. And for a lot of people, that's just not something that they have. And it's hard to approach companies and say, hey, I'm Schmuckatelli and I'd like to do a product placement with you, or I'm, Schmuckatelli and I'd like to get a coupon code because I've got, 50 people to watch my videos, because they're just going to be like, we don't have time for that. I mean, in my experience, that's what's going to happen. So, I know when I say you have to diversify your income, it's a lot easier said than done. But for those of you who can diversify your income, you have to. I mean, you absolutely have to. You can no longer count on your Google AdSense revenue. Now, maybe that changes. I don't know. I mean, I have heard some talk that the numbers are getting a little better. I don't know. I haven't seen that personally. The people that I personally know have lost a lot of money. I'm not going to name names, but I know one guy in particular who lost $800 last month from his previous month, and all his other indicators were up. And what I mean by that is he had more subscribers, but he made $800 less. He still posted the same amount of videos. The view counts are horrible. They're all off. We're getting messages every day saying that they're wrong. But hey, don't worry. No data's been lost. We just don't know where the hell it's at. But we will find it. If we can find your house and take a picture of it, we will find your data. I don't know. And that all is what it is. But anyway, to the guy, and I'm not going to name any names, to the guy who called me out on this and asked for me to speak on this, I hope this has satisfied what you were looking for. And you're right, I am not scared of anybody, and they could close my account tomorrow and punish me and banish me to the wilderness. I don't care. You've been on this for too damn long to give a fuck. So it is what it is, but thanks for calling me out, get me off my ass on this. I've been meaning to talk about this Google change for a long time, the YouTube change and all that good stuff. But like I said, ultimately in the end, guys, just go over to Google+, embrace it, start using it, get used to it, figure it out. It's a little quirky, it's a little different, and start spending some time, networking with people over there and see what you can do. I mean, there are some pretty cool things about it, I have to admit. But anyway, I will let you all go now. Everybody take care, and until we meet again, I bid you a fair adieu.